Back like we never left, today we are here to talk about something that you may have missed. It's an important detail and something that I pointed out in my breakdown of the chapter, in which some people were confused as to why I decided to harp on something that wasn't necessarily in the official. And this has to do with a line in chapter 1011 in regards to Luffy and Kaido. Typically we fall back and we depend on the official even though we read the scans, because it's more than often the correct version, right? Where the accuracy of the breakdown from the official Viz translation is what we typically refer to. And I think that provides even more clarity. And based on what I have to talk about today, this shows the importance, I think, of reading several translations and being tapped in to certain accounts that they translate themselves, they're native Japanese speakers, and so therefore it gives a different perspective. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I would certainly appreciate it, and that helps the channel a lot. Please drop a like as well. And without further ado, let's talk about the important detail that a lot of people probably missed, but it wasn't necessarily intentional. So like I said, this detail is from chapter 1011. And again, going back to my breakdown of the chapter, I mentioned a specific line, but I used information that I had gotten in regards to a line that was incorrect in the official. And I was waiting for some clarity, and we got it from Sandman_AP. You know, Sandman, he's the one that typically translates the interviews and different things that is released in Japan, and he translates it for us. And I've brought you several videos based on what Sandman has said. So Sandman is always a very reliable source. Sandman's Twitter is at Sandman_AP. As he says in his bio there, he translates One Piece news randomly, and he is Japanese. So everything he typically posts, I hold to high regard because, again, he is Japanese. But what I want to focus in on today is Sandman's comments about the Viz translations. Now, I try to stay away from the translation wars, right? Because sometimes they can get pretty nasty, because Viz is the official, and you have scan sites, and you have people trying to translate themselves and give some more clarity. Some people that speak Japanese, not necessarily native Japanese speakers, but they've learned it, so they have a deeper understanding of Japanese lore, just how things should be translated, because the Viz typically is going to err on the side of continuity. That's why they still have Zolo, Animal Kingdom pirates, things of that nature that are more so, I guess, friendly to the masses. But what Sandman says here is that the official Viz usually provides excellent translations, but in the latest chapter, they made a mistranslation about Kaido's important line. Thinking emoji. It should be translated like, this is Kaido, the more precarious the situation is, the more you laugh. And the more you laugh, you and Luffy ? Sandman goes on to say, Kaido is implying if Luffy or Will of D's laugh more, something will happen. For example, the more you laugh, the stronger Will of D's will get. Oda is deliberately hiding what Kaido said here. This line is so important that Japanese fans already enjoy discussing it. Sandman goes on to say, I've heard a theory from some people that D is just short for smiley emoticon because almost everyone carrying the Will of D dies with a smile on their face. And some people tagged me in this post, but guys, I just want to let you know that I had seen it and I'd heard about it before Sandman posted it because I knew this was coming. That's why I referenced it loosely, I guess, in my breakdown, but I just want to let people know where this actually came from because some people were confused. So again, in the official translation, it just says, I can tell you're enjoying yourself. The more precarious the situation, the bigger your smile. And it leaves it there, which what Sandman is saying is that there's a cliffhanger to this, where Kaido is implying the more Luffy smiles or the bigger the smile, ... something will happen, which is implying some more so conversation about the Will of D. The Will of D for the longest has always been a very important topic. Went back and reread the stuff in Drum Island where Correa was talking about the Will of D and revealing to us that Gold Roger, his real name was Gold D. Roger, saying Chopper's gonna get a bit more than he bargained for because he's met up with a dangerous man. At the same moment, we got some information about Ace being in Drum Island, Portgas D. Ace. We know for Portgas D. Ace, that's why Sengoku got interested in him, because he was he carried the name of D. We know about the D being the enemies of the gods, different things about the Will of D that we aren't really sure or clear on. But this, I think, is extremely intriguing because this is furthering my theory, or I guess my perception of Kaido the individual. Personally, I think Kaido knows a lot more than we think he does. First off, something that always intrigued me that Kaido said was that the will of the Kazuki will end here, right? Which implies that Kaido knows about the Kazuki from the past, which goes back to, does this mean that Kaido has some history with Wano? Did something happen in the past? the dragon that Ryuma slayed, is something there for Kaido to have a personal vendetta against the people of Wano. Something that's silly, right? That I've talked to people about, but there's nothing to really prove anything, and this is just the anime and aesthetic. But something that I noticed was that the old hag that Kaido killed that was working with Orochi, the colorway that the anime chose to show us in regards to her is almost identical to Yamato's. Like her hair and everything is identical to Yamato's. Now, I'm not saying Kaido slept with the old hag and that's Yamato's mom, but could there be some connection there? Is she a plant basically to set Orochi up or put Orochi in a position for Kaido to come in and be the person that he is for Wano? Like I said, I don't know, but Kaido, the more we get from him, the more dialogue, the more we learn about things that are important to him, the more intrigued you get. The thing here, right, is knowing Kaido and knowing the things that he enjoys, the things that he holds dear in regards to not only battle, because we saw that when he was fighting, even before this moment, he was really having a good time. We saw the smile and he was smiling and enjoying himself. And so now seeing Luffy doing the same thing, the more precarious the situation, the bigger your smile, and the bigger your smile, ... What does this mean? And for Kaido, his lineage we know nothing about. Is there something there that we should be expecting? This could just go back to Kaido's idea of death, because we know Kaido, he views death in a grandiose way in regards to dying in a way that is representative of how you lived, which I think the Will of D that embodies, right? Where a popular characteristic of the D's of that they die with a smile on their face. And so Oda is dancing around this topic, this subject in regards to the Will of D, them dying with a smile on their face, the ancient history against the celestial dragons, what it means for the coming future. But one thing that this showed me, or this told me, I think, is that Oda will definitely cover the Will of D and information in regards to that by the end of Wano. The reason being is that even though Oden is not a D clan member, the Kozuki are so connected to this clan because they were the one transcribing the poneglyphs. They were creating the poneglyphs. They were stonemasons. So the Kozuki are really probationary Ds. They're connected somehow. I mean, even for Toki, coming from the Void Century, her destination was Wano. What's a better way than to give us more information about the D clan, the Will of D, and them smiling, than to wrap it all up or to have it all come together in Wano? Granted, Yamato does have Oden's journal, and Rayleigh did say when Robin inquired about it, saying we found out everything about the Void Century once we found the One Piece, and we know the history of Laugh Tale, Roger laughing. So when you think about all of it, and also a popular trait of Luffy's smiling in the face of danger, it's all very intriguing, honestly. So I really wanted to put this out there so people don't overlook just how important this line was, even though it wasn't in the official translation. This just shows the importance, I think, of not only reading one translation, several breakdowns. I'm all about reading the official translation, and I support the official. We pay for that, but look around and experience different things. Follow different people on Twitter. I suggest you follow Sandman_AP because he does this from time to time again. He doesn't call out the official translation ever. Like, this is something that's very rare, but this shows just how important it is. The fact that he said the Japanese are already talking about this is very important. Of course, they're over there. They get access to this information before us. They also understand their language better than we ever could. So different speech patterns, different lore. They're going to interpret it a bit differently. For Sandman being Japanese, he understood just the importance of Oda trying to hide important information that Kaido left out. So Kaido again is shaping up to be one of the more important characters in regards to the Will of D. We still don't know his lineage. We still don't know his history. We know how important death is to him. And personally, I think he's fond of the Ds. He talks about Roger and Whitebeard all the time. Of course, Whitebeard isn't a D, but he talks about those great pirates all the time and how they died. And for Roger specifically, and his death being as grandiose as it was, he started an entire new era, right? And for Kaido, he's trying to follow that path. Kaido could be a D, he could not. But if it comes out and he's Kai D.O., I mean, hey man, it was all foreshadowed because of how much he understands and is fond of that characteristic. Laughing in the face of danger, and apparently the more you laugh, something will happen. And you can go deeper in saying there's something about laughing in the face of danger and not being scared to die. And because of that, the fulfillment you get out of life is much greater because you're not scared of the consequences. If you die, you die, but you get to live everything to the greatest extent. That's what Roger did, and that's what Luffy is doing now. But then we get to characters like Law, who is a D, who doesn't smile that often. But when Law does, that moment when he said a D will bring about a storm again, I mean, it gives you chills because you just understand the fire behind those words. But we gotta wait and see. Guys, give me your thoughts. What do you feel about all this? Do you think this is something that's being overblown? I think this is very important, and we may go back at some point and touch on this and say, you know what? I'm happy we didn't overlook this line, because it is truly important when you evaluate this story. So guys, give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much. Guys, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.